Good evening, everybody, and welcome to SNS at H. Joel, what is SNS at H? That's a good question. For years now, I've been wondering why there isn't a news show dedicated entirely to Stage and Slam memories, especially at this time when we haven't been able to have Stage and Slam in person and honestly desperate for my yearly fix. We reached out to you guys and asked for your favorite Stage and Slam memories, and boy, did you deliver. And after reading your replies and honestly being a little bit overwhelmed, I decided, why not us? Why not now? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is your fault, and this is Stage and Slam at Home. I'm Joel Nicholas, and if it isn't clear yet, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And now, onto some memories. And what a decade it's been. Because even though we've been going through a trying time right now, that doesn't stop us from looking back at all the incredible moments Stage and Slam has brought us. From meeting incredible people to dancing all night at the disco, the moments of joy, surprise, and dare I say tears have left its mark on all. Stage and Slam not only started 10 years ago, but we were at very different stages of life. Some of us had hair, some were just teenagers, and some of you weren't even born yet. But regardless of when you joined this crazy journey, we all fell in love with being together and sharing some of the craziest moments of our lives. If those memories weren't enough for you, then head on over to our Instagram and Facebook pages where you can see and share more incredible memories because we are in this together. Haha, I still have no idea what I'm doing. Hey, Charlie!
Thank you, Joel. And I have to say, what a pleasure it is to be co-anchoring this new show with you. And as much as it pains me to say, there is a slight, very slight hint of beard envy over this side of the studio. Anyway, enough about that. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Hey, Nathan, what's the weather like out there?
It's pretty good.
Haha, the best weather correspondent ever. And now, for our lockdown correspondent, giving us the latest in lockdown entertainment. Hey, Nairi, how's it looking over there?
Thanks, Charlie. Today we're focusing on the impact coronavirus has on animal and welfare. But the burning question for the aviation industry is, does it fly?
Haha, such fun. Now, on to our latest segment, Programme Characters. Where are they now? Over the years, we've had the pleasure of incredible teams coming over and making us laugh, cry, and also boo as they take us on a roller coaster of emotions. However, we realised that there was a problem. After an event like Stage and Slam finishes, we had no idea what happened to them, the men and women who seemed to go through such a life-changing experience during their week on the stage. So, we decided to reach out to some old characters and see where their lives have ended up. Ladies and gentlemen, this week on Programme Characters, Where Are They Now? Please welcome Hans and Dieter.
Welcome to tonight's section, Programme Characters, Where Are They Now? And I'm delighted to be joined by programme characters from 10 years ago at Stage and Slam, the very first one. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hans and Dieter.
I am Hans.
Yeah, and I am Dieter.
And we were there
to pump
you up. Ah, yes. Ho, ho,
Look at the muscles on those.
That's right.
Wow. Well, fellas,
Don't be jealous.
I am definitely not jealous of those. You've worked so hard to get them, Hans.
Charlie, the last time we saw you, you were a wee youth.
I was a youth. I was 12 years old the last time we saw each other, and I had hair and no beard, so my head's done a complete 180-degree switch. But last time we saw you guys, you were here training us in your moves. So the first question I'd love to find out is, like, what brought you to Scotland originally?
It was a magazine called National Geographic.
National Geographic, yeah.
Yeah. And it said Scotland was the #1 place where youth
Number one.
needed to be pumped up.
No more ice for the pumping.
Pump.
Pump.
So you guys came over to Scotland and you trained us up and you pumped us up. Did you have a great time while you were here? Did you have any regrets leaving the country, or did you achieve everything you set out to do?
I had only one regret, and that was leaving.
Oh,
Mm. I would say I left my heart and half my colon in Scotland.
half your
Oh, how's that semicolon?
It is tough. As you realize, my last feat of strength when we were in beautiful Scotland, I tore my colon and have been left with a semicolon, which has rendered my my pumping up and my mustache useless.
Oh, yes. Your pumping days are over.
Talk to me about the training that led you to get to Scotland. So what was life like before you came to Scotland? What was your job like?
We would travel all over the world, training puppies to be big and strong. And Stage and Slam gave us our first chance to pump up people.
And obviously, Charlie, you are example numero eins.
Yes.
Here's a you have pumped so hard that you've lost the hair on your head and you've gained hair on your face.
Yes.
That was our goal, to leave folks inspired and pumped.
And tired.
And tired. Yes. We were very tired and very pumped up at the end of that week.
And we were for hire.
Yes. So leaving Scotland, you've went back to America. So what's the past 10 years been like?
Oh, it's been a tough 10 years. Ever since Dieter tore his colon, pumping has just never been the same.
Yeah, I have aged. I have gone gray. My pumping days are over, except for our newest venture, because we wanted to keep pumping. The Hans and Dieter fuel station for automobiles.
That's right. We were so sad, and were tearing every cry we had, and then we looked up and saw the beautiful petrol sign. And we're like, we know our calling, that we will still be here to pump your petrol.
Yes.
Wow.
So you will see us at our store pumping all day long. Petrol,
That's right.
Petrol.
Giving
And
you the energy you need.
That's great.
Exactly. It's selling some, and even we brought over, we sell some iron brew. Here in the States at our petrol stations.
Yeah, that's great. If you could give the kids or the youth of today listening one piece of advice for living their life to be as great as you guys are, what would that be?
Never stop pumping.
Never stop pumping.
Pump. Not just pump here, but pump here. And never stop pumping.
Well, fellas, it seems like the past 10 years have been kind to you. Dieter, not so much because you're grey now, but you guys seem to have done a lot of good stuff in the past 10 years.
Hey, we're thankful for you. It started there at Stage and Slam. All good things start at Stage and Slam.
That's very true.
Well, I'm Hans.
And I am Dieter.
And we were there to pump
you
up.
Yes, and the gas.
Haha, that was incredible. I sure feel pumped up.
No, Joel, that was the curry you had last night.
I may have pooped my pants. Here at Stage and Slam, at home, we realized that not only had Stage and Slam aged 10 years, but so had my hairline, fashion, and this person. This person and these people. But so had the internet. And over the years, the internet has produced challenges galore, and we across the globe engaged in these cultural phenomena. So we asked you guys to take part in a near year-by-year recreation of these challenges. Over the years during our summer events, we have had the incredible pleasure, dare I say honor, of having people come over and talk to us about some of life's biggest questions. Well, we loved that so much that we reached out to some of them and asked them to come back and tell us again about the things and the thing that is most important to them. Andy.
Well, thank you, Joel. It's a pleasure to be here. This is the first in our series that we're going to be looking at In This Together. And I can't think of someone I'd rather be in this together more with than this man, this beautiful face peering out at me on the screen, Gary Wilmer. Now, some of you may recognize him because he's been involved in summer missions here in Scotland before, most recently Stage and Slam 2019, the 10th of Stage and Slam. Yes. Brought it home with us. We loved it. We've not got your family with us here today, but we have you. So I just want to hand over to you. Tell us, who are we in this together with, Gary?
You know, I was just wearing my Stage and Slam t-shirt yesterday, Andy. That thing is getting worn out. It's my favorite t-shirt. But hey, I'm so excited about being with you today. And if you're watching this right now, what a great opportunity to be together. Even though it's virtual, we're all in our houses. We're in our houses here in the US, just like you are in Scotland. But we're going to have a great time this week. And, you know, as I was thinking about my time with you, Andy, and my time with all of you, I started thinking about something I did several summers ago, right in July, when I was 16 years old. I did something really crazy. I decided to spy on a guy by the name of Brad. Now, Brad, let me tell you the story. Brad, he wanted to date my sister, okay? And in my family, I'm the youngest of 5. There's 4 boys and 1, girl. And whoever was going to date my sister, we gave him the evil eye. Like, we really wanted to make sure this guy was legit, that he was the right person to date my sister. So turns out where he gets this job at this hardware store in Baltimore, and he becomes a security guard. And so it's a hot July day. It's about 12 o'clock at night. We're all hanging out. And I said to my brother, let's go spy on Brad. And he was like, that sounds like a great idea. And so another friend of ours, we go about a mile down these railroad tracks and kind of sneak in. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. We sneak in and climb this building. across the alleyway from this hardware store where Brad, as a security guard, is sitting in this little guard, shack, this little house. I had found out that he was going to have another girl down there that night with him to hang out with. And I'm like, this is it. I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to reveal to my sister, this guy's an imposter. And so I'm up on this roof with binoculars with my friend and my brother. And we spy on Brad for 2 straight hours. I had rigged up a little speaker inside of his guard shack, and I plugged it into this wire. I could hear every word he was saying in this little guard shack. I was really proud of myself. It's one of the coolest things ever. And as he was sitting in there, Brad did nothing other than watch TV with this gal that he was with. And it turned out that they were longtime friends, and she had just come down to see Brad from out of town. And then she left. Nothing bad happened and all that. And after this situation of spying on Brad, of which I didn't tell him I did it until like a year later, by the way, I realized that Brad was trustworthy. And I realized that he was somebody that I could trust to go out with my sister, right? Pretty cool story, right, Andy? But then here's why I share that story with you guys today is because, you know what? I had one sister and she meant a lot to me. And guys, we have one life and our lives matter a lot to us, right? Like we all want to have a great life. The question is, how do we go about living a great life? And I want to talk to you today about a person by the name of Zacchaeus. He's in the Bible, and he's somebody that 2,000 years ago had a situation where he wanted to investigate who Jesus was. And here's the thing, we're all in this together. That's the theme of the whole week. We're in this together, and all of us want to investigate life so we can figure out where to find it. Zacchaeus was just like us, a young guy. He heard that Jesus was coming through his town. So he decides to climb this tree to be able to get a better picture of who Jesus is. And I love the story because it's like me on that roof of that building investigating Brad. And it says that Jesus was passing through, and it says that because he wanted to see who Jesus was, Zacchaeus climbed a sycamore fig tree because Jesus was coming that way. Now imagine a parade coming through your town and you climb this tree and everybody's coming through. And then something really funny happens. As Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and he says, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. And so the Bible says that he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. But then it says that everybody in the crowd began to mutter, he's going to be the guest of a sinner. And they couldn't understand why Jesus wanted to hang out with Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. He was wealthy. He had been cheating everybody in the whole town, and they couldn't understand why Jesus would ever want to hang out with a dude like Zacchaeus, right? And then Zacchaeus says, look, Lord, if I've cheated anybody out of anything, I'll pay them back 4 times the amount. And then Jesus says something really beautiful. He says, salvation has come to this house because this man too was a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost. And Andy, I love this story, and I thought it'd be a good story for us to start our week out together because 2 things. Number one, I love how Zacchaeus just wanted to investigate Jesus, and I think that's kind of our theme this week. We're in this together to take a closer look and to investigate life. We get one shot at it, and we want it to be good, right? And what I like about in this story is I like how Jesus knew Zacchaeus by name. Isn't that interesting? Like he calls him out, Zacchaeus. And whether you would agree with this or not, whether you even believe in God, the Bible says that God knows us by name, that he actually put us together in our mother's womb. And I find it interesting that Jesus knew Zacchaeus. And secondly, I find it very interesting that Jesus invites Zacchaeus to dinner. Like my image of God is, if he does exist, I thought about this in high school, that if God existed, I thought he was just so far out there, so distant, so unknowable that he probably wouldn't even know who I am. And in this story, we see Jesus inviting Zacchaeus to dinner. Now, when you're invited to something, Andy, you're like me, right? Like, don't you just feel great when you're invited to go to a party or you're invited by a friend to go hang out? When you're invited, you feel valuable and you feel included. Isn't it an interesting thought that the God of the universe invites us into a personal friendship with him? That he likes us and wants to be with us. Now, here's the key moment of the story. The key moment of the story was when Zacchaeus decided to actually come down out of the tree. He could have stayed up there, right? But he made a decision that I'm going to come down. And guys, listen, I think of all the important decisions that I've made in my life. Some of them, we call this in the States, I guess you do in Scotland as well. Some of my decisions have been game changers. In other words, I think this was a game-changing decision for Zacchaeus. He could have stayed there, but he decided to take a risk to come down out of this tree, to go to dinner with Jesus, and his whole life changed. Some of the decisions that you guys make in your teens end up setting the trajectory of your whole life. And I love this story because we learn a lot about Zacchaeus, but we learn a lot about Jesus. And so I guess the question is, who is Jesus? Here's what the Bible says about Jesus as I begin to wrap up our first little discussion, is that he is the image of the invisible God. In other words, it says that he is the creator and that he created all things, whether invisible or visible. Now, here's the thing about Jesus. No matter what you think about Jesus, we date time after his birth, right? Jesus is the center of all of human history. This book called the Bible is the bestseller every year. They don't even keep track of it anymore. And the theme from the start to the finish is all about one person, Jesus Christ. We've spent more money on hospitals, brick and mortar, colleges, government buildings in his name than any other person who's ever lived. And the Bible says that Jesus is God with skin on, that he parachuted into human history 2,000 years ago. And if we want to know what God is like, all we have to do is look at the person of Jesus. And I think Zacchaeus found out a lot that day. So here's two things I want to end with, Andy, in our little beginning of this great week together. Number one, let me end with a story. The big tower called Big Ben in London. Maybe some of you have seen it. You've been to London, you've seen it. There's a legendary story about one day that Big Ben stopped working, and they gathered everybody that they could find to try to fix Big Ben. And as all the important officials and the mayor of London, everybody's outside of Big Ben trying to figure out what to do, an old man comes up and says, "Do you need some help?" And they kind of pushed him away initially. "Hey, don't bother us. Get back, old man. What are you doing?" And he kept being persistent. And they eventually said, "All right, give it a try." And he has a little toolbox. He goes in, and it wasn't instantly, but in a short period of time, he comes back out, and Big Ben's working. And they said, "Well, how'd you figure it out? What'd you do?" And he said, "Well, I'm the person who actually designed Big Ben. I know more about this clock than anybody." So here's my point, you guys. Makes sense, right? So if we want to have a great life, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to have a great life, the question is, where do we go to find it? Doesn't it make sense that if God created life, that if he created me, if he created you, doesn't it make sense that God probably knows more about life than anybody? That maybe he understands me, maybe he understands you more than you understand you. He's the one who has the design. But the second thing I want to leave you with today is this. Are you willing to take a risk? Guys, listen, I can't think of anything I've done in my life that didn't require risk that turned out being great. I risked spying on Brad. It was a fun experience. It takes risk to get into a relationship. It takes risk to get on a roller coaster. It takes risk to do anything that's worthwhile. Will you take a risk this week and step out in faith? And maybe for the first time in your life, investigate, does God have something to say about how life works for me? And who is Jesus? So we're going to have a lot of fun this week, even though it's virtual, but I hope you'll come down out of your tree and maybe investigate Jesus maybe for the first time.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. And when I go out, Well, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. And when I play funk, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who plays funk for you. And if I haver, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering to you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm working, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you. And when the money comes in for the work I'll do, I'll pass almost every penny on to you. And when I come home, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home to you. And if I grow up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's growing old with you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm lonely, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's lonely without you. And when I'm dreaming, well, I know I'm gonna dream about the time when I'm with you. And when I go out, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. And when I come home, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home with you. I'm gonna be the man who's coming home with you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. Da-da-da-da.
Da 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 da.
Da-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.